Hey everyone, I'm Christina Raia, the head of education at Seed&Spark. If you're not familiar with Seed&Spark, we are a platform built to support creators wherever they are in their journey, from education and crowdfunding to creative distribution methods. And this is our weekly Lunch and Learn series.
Welcome.
Bri, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about crafting great pitch videos. I'm Bri Castellini. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Seed&Spark's film community manager. And we are talking about all things pitch videos, but a lot of the advice that we give for pitch videos can really be for any kind of like sizzle reel or teaser, or just a way in which you want to use video to communicate to people that what you're making is pretty neat. So without further ado, let's start talking. So if we can get the presentation up from our wonderful tech director. Hell yes, look at that. Okay, crafting great pitch videos by us. So high level advice. This is just like across the board. This is things that you need to be keeping in mind. The most important thing is to keep it concise. Your pitch video should really be no longer than about 120 seconds. There are exceptions to every rule, of course, but in general, we found that people generally only watch for about 90 seconds. So everything that you want to say should be within that time. And sometimes we get people who push back against this feedback and say, well, the important information is in the first 90 seconds, but if I want the video to go on for another 8 minutes, it's fine, right? But you would be surprised how many people look at a pitch video, see that it's 8 minutes long, and say, I'm not going to watch even 10 seconds of this. Yeah. Like, people's psychology of seeing a very long video, like, is a commitment that they don't want to enter into, so they won't watch it all. So it is really important to keep your video concise, and it forces you as the speaker, creator, whatever, to like really decide and prioritize what is the most important, exciting information, and knowing that information for yourself, as well as being able to communicate that clearly to your audience, is going to help you in more ways than just making a good pitch video. The other part of it is not starting with a talking head. The first like 10-15 seconds of the video, which we'll talk about in a second on its very own slide, should not be your face. Because ideally, when you're pitching something, when you're trying to explain to strangers why your idea is so good, they don't really want to see you first, because they don't know who you are. They don't really care if you launch into a great idea because they haven't seen anything. Film is a visual medium, and so are other art forms. So whatever you're starting your video with should not be you. You should eventually be in it, but you are not at first the most enticing thing about your project, although hopefully eventually you'll become one of the facets.
That's right.
And finally, vary up the visuals. So no matter if you're pitching a film or a piece of visual art or a podcast or a theater play, you know, as opposed to the other plays, you want to try to vary up the visuals of your video. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to like make a pitch video into like its own little short film, but it does mean that in general, you don't want it to just be a talking head the whole time with maybe like a picture or two at the beginning. Like, try to utilize as much as you possibly can to like visually distinguish the video and keep people, you know, upbeat. Like, the reason that people want to watch a video for a very short period of time is because even like a slow 15 seconds can really pull people out of something. So to keep pacing up, one of the ways to do that is to just literally vary up the visuals. Add a pyramid scheme graphic in the middle, for example, you know, add pictures, add text, add statistics, cut away to clips, like whatever you can do to keep the video visually interesting, and just giving us other stuff to look at. That goes a long way in tricking people to continue watching.
Yeah, even like if you're talking about what you're going to spend the money on, you know, bring up photos of that or a dollar amount on the screen, or whatever you're saying, try and create some visuals so that it isn't, just you talking the whole time or your collaborators talking the whole time.
Totally. All right, let's move on. So the cold open, AKA your first 15 to 30 seconds. Of course, you want to show, don't tell. You would be amazed, or perhaps you wouldn't be, at how many people forget this part of things. Like, as with everything that we give you advice about in regards to crowdfunding, especially, remember how you engage with crowdfunding campaigns as like a private citizen. What interests you? What excites you? And usually it's not a stranger talking. Usually it's getting to see a taste of the thing that they want to give you and being convinced because you've now seen an example. So this can be footage if you're making a film, footage from the project itself if you've already done some filming, from a previous but similar project in the same themes, from test footage that you've put together, from stock footage that you've cut together to be almost like a little mini sizzle reel, or even from rehearsal footage. Like there's a lot of things that you can do to show, not tell. And remember also that you're not just show, not telling like the idea, but you're also show, not telling us your own credibility. Like I could list out my film credentials for you in a talking head version, or I could literally show you this is the quality of work I've made before, and then explain, and now here's how much further I want to go with this next project. So like, remember that it's not just about getting people excited about the literal thing, but it's also like proving without having to necessarily say it that you can absolutely accomplish this. People can trust you with their money. Look at what you've done already.
Yeah, and it's not just like quality, it's really setting the tone. And so making sure that if you're making a comedy, prove that you can make people laugh. Like you've done that before. You've made funny films or told funny stories before. I make a lot of horror. And so, you know, when I'm crowdfunding for, or just generally pitching my genre content, I open with my previous horror work and I show you that I can, you know, pull off this kind of lighting that's going to set the tone. And I have composers that I work with that understand what goes into making a horror movie and creating that creepy, suspenseful vibe. And so it's also just not showing off your skills, but the collaborators, the people that are part of this team that you're asking people to join.
Totally. If you're doing an audio drama or podcast and fundraising for that, one way to show, not tell is to overlay a clip or music. I always forget that audio can also mean music. For some reason, it just doesn't occur to me. Only podcasts. But like overlay the music that you want to crowdfund more of, or the podcast or whatever, over either stock footage or imagery that kind of evokes the same tone. So if you're looking for an example of this, I apologize to the people running our social because I didn't link you to this beforehand, but there's an audio drama that crowdfunded with us recently called Kalila Stormfire, and they were an audio drama about a witch delivery service sort of thing. And they are really, really cool. In fact, you may recognize Lizette Alvarez, one of the creator, or I think the creator, and one of the writers and performers from a previous Lunch&Learn, in fact. And they did a really cool job with their pitch video where they overlaid clips, like a sizzle reel of clips from the previous seasons of the show that they'd done, over like really moody, witchy aesthetic, like images and like stock footage and like things in the stars. It was very dreamy, and like none of that was stuff that was in the original podcast, but the visuals evoked the same things that they wanted to evoke from the audio portion, and it made like a nice little like mood reel for the podcast to then cut into the rest of the video with. And like that definitely set a tone, even though they themselves didn't have any footage. So that's why we always try to mention, like, if you don't have to worry about the chicken or egg thing, like if you don't already have something completed of the thing that you want to crowdfund for, just, you know, fake it. Like show us like you have the capacity to put something like this together. Do something with a test, cut together old stuff. Like we just want to see that like you can be a storyteller and you have 15, 30 seconds to do that. Like go all out, you know, find the coolest way to demonstrate the cool thing that you want to do.
When I was crowdfunding for my first feature, I had made shorts before, but none quite in the tone of what I was crowdfunding for my feature. And I had to do location scouts for a creepy location in the snowy woods. And so I used our location scouts to shoot a fake trailer. So we used that footage to create the tone of the film that we were going to make. And so that's a way that you can kind of use the work that you're already doing for pre-production or for development of your film or project in general, and use that towards the visuals. Another example, I also didn't send this to our social media person, so we'll have to find the link later. But one of my favorite examples is this campaign that crowdfunded with us called The Prayer. And the filmmaker definitely had a whole bunch of work. He does cut to it later in the video, but you wouldn't necessarily know that from the beginning. It's one of my favorite cheap cheap pitch videos because it's like a car drives into a tunnel and the lighting kind of cuts in and out, and sound design like creates that. I don't know if the lighting actually does that or if it's just the sound design doing that and kind of something he did in post to the lighting. And then he gets out of the car wearing a bloody white suit and just stands at the end of his car with creepy music. And then he's just like, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm going to tell you about my movie." And the title of it just flashes on the screen and with this really loud, creepy music. And I love that because it sets the tone within the pitch itself. And it's him using his skills, so sound design and some post effects. But it's really just like he drove his car into a tunnel and poured some fake blood on a suit, and that didn't cost a lot of money, and he didn't show any previous work. But it got me in the mood for a horror movie, and he told me that he knows how to create that tone.
Totally. Yeah. Pro tip, you can get a liter of fake blood for less than $10. So
right. And the tunnel was
like
free. Like driving to the tunnel was free. It was probably like 2 a.m., and it was empty, and that was his car. So it was just a really great example of how you don't have to spend a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Get creative. As we say in probably most of these Lunch and Learns, is like allow yourself to be creative in crowdfunding. Crowdfunding can be a creative exercise, and I promise you it is more fun from start to finish for you and your audience if you approach crowdfunding creatively. If you approach it the same way you approach your actual production, whatever you're making. Like you're in this because you want to make cool stuff. So why half-ass it with the pitch video? Like, have fun, get creative, get weird. And so finally, if you're doing some kind of imagery-based work that you're crowdfunding for, so graphic novel, photography, etc., kind of the same thing as with audio, just snag some like royalty-free stock music to put underneath and give us a quick like slideshow of your visual art, maybe like cut to the beat. That's a really easy thing you can do in all of the free editing softwares that are out there. If you have a Mac, iMovie is actually a really great editing software for basic stuff. Also, DaVinci Resolve, I believe, is free for all operating systems, and it's a pretty intense piece of editing software. But point being, yeah, literally just show us your art. Show us what you do or want to do and be creative with it and just get us hyped. Like that's the whole point of this whole thing, right?
That's right.
And at the end of the day, the thing that every decision you make about your crowdfunding campaign should come back to is who is the audience for this project? Who will this excite? And why will they get excited? Once again, what gets you excited when you contribute to a crowdfunding campaign, when you decide to follow somebody on Twitter, when you decide to watch a new movie or TV show? Like, what is it about the materials that get you excited? Replicate that. You are your first audience member, always. Presumably you are making work that you yourself would enjoy. So probably the things that would work on you to market to yourself would work on other people. So if you would be bored by an 8-minute uncut white wall background pitch video, don't make that for your audience. A good idea isn't enough. You have to present it in a way that will be exciting and enticing to people. So the next part of a pitch video is answering the question, why me, the artist, the person behind this project? Why are you, the creator or team of storytellers, the best person to tell this story? What is it about your background, your previous work, your interests, your passions, your personality that made you the perfect person to tell this story, to do this art? Oh, apparently I didn't need to say all that out loud because I put it in the slideshow. Man, my forethought is incredible. My ability to read through these before doing a workshop, also incredible. Something else of note, and we mentioned this kind of at the top, you yourself do need to be in the video at some point. And this can take a lot of different forms, but ultimately it builds trust and credibility to see the face of who is asking for support. So yeah. I know a lot of you are probably going to be uncomfortable with this advice, but find a way to make it comfortable to be on camera for at least a little while, because like face-to-face is really important.
We find that statistically people are more likely to contribute when they can see the person. As Bri said, it builds trust, but I think also you speaking passionately about your work is going to connect with people emotionally more than just seeing text on screen or just seeing footage itself. And so you do need to appear in it, but it doesn't all have to be you. You can have your collaborators on screen with you. You could even just kind of introduce yourself, say a little bit about why you're really passionate about this story and why your voice matters in telling it, and then let your more charismatic or more comfortable collaborators really go into the meat of things. Like your actors can talk about the story and elaborate on that more in their characters. And the producer, if you're not the producer, if you have another producer, they can talk about what you need the money for and where that's all going to go. You don't have to do the whole pitch video yourself, but you should definitely be in it.
Definitely. And this can take many forms. For instance, here are a series of GIFs I made of my coworkers, because as many of you know, many of the Seed&Spark folks are also filmmakers. So this is a collection of GIFs from our various past pitch videos. And as you can see, even in just like the 2 seconds of looping GIFs that I made, we all appear very differently, especially because we were all making different tones of work. So Shay, our wonderful tech director, who is running all the behind the scenes awesomeness, their project is Swoon Town, which is something that crowdfunded really recently, and I think still has a shout out on our Instagram story right now. But they are not really an actor or an on-camera person, and they were very concerned about being on camera, but they decided that they understood that it was important for people to see that like this is the crazy, amazing mind that this concept came from. And so they found a way to, you know, make it art. So that, you know, to minimize their own need to like talk a lot, they made a really stylized video and used their sort of inclusion in the video that way. Alternatively, Brandy, who you have seen in many of these Lunch and Learns, made a short film called Aloha. And Brandy is just like a very, very talented speaker and very calm. And her work is just like beautifully layered, but her background is a little bit less like loud and nonsensical. Like Brandy is a very straightforward person, and she's just going to lay it out for you.
Also, Aloha, just she stars in Aloha, so that like she was wearing both hats, and it is a film. It's really lovely. I believe it's online. You should check it out. It's like set in home. It's a very home kind of film, and so that sort of feels like the space that she's in.
Totally. And then, so my pitch video, the buy-in pitch video here at the bottom, is a sort of different take on the way that pitch videos are normally done, because the film that I was fundraising for was not a comedy, which is the first time I've not done a comedy. But the pitch video was very bizarre and funny. The film that we were crowdfunding for was a psychological horror film about pyramid schemes. And so what we did is watched a bunch of pyramid scheme recruitment videos and designed our pitch video to be a pyramid scheme recruitment video, which allowed us to have a little bit more fun with the whole concept. And so this is one such very bizarre clip from that pitch video, where we just kind of like grabbed weird stuff in my apartment to like overlay with like psychotically happy B-roll. Cause like in all of the videos that we saw from recruitment videos for pyramid schemes, it was like a talking head, and then it would cut away to the same person in the talking head who was just like laughing and smiling and like smelling roses. So we basically just did that, but weirder. So I had a long-term character arc with this night puppet that culminated in a passionate love. My co-star ate plain bread for like half the video. Like it was all very strange, but it was all overlaid because we didn't have a lot to work with to make our pitch video, but we decided to just like go all in on like the tone and framework of the video. And so that's how we set it apart. And Christina, do you want to say anything about a donkey pitch video?
So I've crowdfunded 4 times, and I've done different things for different ones depending on the tone of them and where I was with my work. And so, like I mentioned with my first feature, we used test footage essentially to create a fake trailer that opened it and used as B-roll. With one of my campaigns to raise for shorts, I used footage from my web series because I was mostly crowdfunding to that audience. And so even though they were sort of tonally different projects, I was trying to call in those people and be like, hey, do you want more of stuff from these people that made this thing that you like? That was the way that we kind of framed footage in our pitch video for that. With About a Donkey, it is a very unique kind of film about a family. I had never made a film about a family before. I didn't have footage of, like, my work focused on people that were my age. And so I didn't have the kind of generational footage that I wanted to show in my pitch video. So what we decided to do was to shoot the first scene of the film before we actually had the budget to make the rest of it. So we shot the first scene in January, and then we crowdfunded in February, and then we went into actual principal photography in March. And so we used footage from the first scene for not only the opening 20 seconds, but also B-roll as we spoke. We also used that same day that we shot the first scene for me and Kelsey, the writer and co-producer of the film, to do our pitch video. So we had the set up. And that I thought was just kind of like a unique way to put us into the space. And it sets the tone of this family that's like a very specific kind of family that's very stuck, and their furniture is really old, and like everything's kind of lived in. And so that's where we were going with the set. And we wanted to put our lights and our camera in the background and just kind of create that like we are the producing team behind this thing that you're hopefully going to help be part of. And then similarly, like the color tone of it was meant to match the film itself. And one tip I would say is, if you are not the only person on screen, I think you should have a script no matter what, because you will find that once, even if you think you've memorized it, once the camera's rolling and the kind of pressure is on to say it in a certain amount of time, you will find yourself rambling a little bit, or just saying or taking pauses that you didn't expect to take. So having a script is important, but it's especially important if you are trying to pitch with someone else, because everyone needs to know their cue, and they need to know when they need to come in and what they need to say. And I remember at one point when Kelsey and I did a pitch video together for the first time, it was absolutely terrible because we didn't have a script. And we felt like we can complete each other's sentences. That's our vibe, not when we're trying to be rehearsed and sell you something in a way. It was terrible. And then we were like, okay, we need a script. And moving forward, that is very much part of our initial pitch video process, is writing that script and making sure we each know it and we rehearse it together.
Yeah, I love that. My final piece of advice here, especially if you're someone who's not as comfortable on camera, is that there are fun and inventive ways to kind of get around it. So the example I bring up is I produced a web series called Stray a couple of years ago for their second season. And the writer-director of Stray hates being on camera. Shout out to Pablo, who's never going to watch this video, but I'm sure he'll appreciate the shout out nonetheless. He hates being on camera. He is extremely awkward. Like, you know, I could be nice about it, but he's very weird on camera. And it's like, he's a very charismatic guy, very funny writer. But like, as soon as you put a camera on him, he just has a meltdown. So what he did is, especially because it was a comedy that we were making, he hired one of the actors in his show to play him in the pitch video with me, because I was also in the pitch video. And so like, my character in the pitch video was constantly frustrated, this actor who kept saying, "Hi, I'm Pablo." And it's like, wait, you're not Pablo. And then we would cut, like hard cut, and Pablo would keep talking. And so we kind of like kept that gambit up of like, oh, okay, so this isn't the real guy, but he's using the real guy's words. And then at the very end of the video, we filmed Pablo like, "Hey, Seed&Spark says you have to be on camera. Come here. Just, you got to be on camera for a little bit." And he's like trying to escape as we like chase him around the room trying to get him on camera. So like, that might be a maybe tongue-in-cheek possibility for you if you're genuinely really not comfortable on camera. I would also say, just as an interview tip, sometimes it's easier, instead of like having to write yourself a full script and say something, is if you want to appear more natural, have a friend like interview you off camera. Yeah, because often if you're talking to someone, it's a lot more comfortable for you to just like be passionate, because, you know, if you can ignore the camera for a little bit and just speak from the heart in response to someone else's question, that might be a way to kind of get yourself comfortable. And then you can do a couple of different takes as you work it out. But like, there are a lot of ways to make yourself comfortable, and you don't need to be on camera the whole time, but you got to be on it a little bit. And that was kind of the point of this GIF rainbow.
Also, one last piece of advice: mess ups in pitch videos can make for great update videos later on. And so also don't beat yourself up if you mess things up. I remember when I was doing my first feature and I was in the pitch video by myself and kind of had an idea of what I wanted to say, but was also just sort of speaking off the cuff. And my feature was called Summit, and I kept saying Summit like a question at the end. And my friend Chris, who was recording it, kept interrupting me and saying, stop saying it like Summit. And I just could not stop saying it that way until finally I nailed it. But then during the campaign, we released a video that was just me saying Summit as a question for like 15 seconds over and over until I finally got it. And that actually got shared a lot. Like, so that was really a fun way to drive traffic and show that this is like making a movie and that you're going to have outtakes too, you know?
Yeah, we released our blooper reel from our buy-in pitch video, I think maybe at not the 50% mark. Maybe we released it, I think we might have released it when we hit the green light. Like, hey, if you guys get us to the green light, we'll release the blooper video. And the blooper video is extremely good and deeply disturbing and cursed. So moving on. Why this? This is the next question you should be asking answering with your pitch video. So why this story? People get excited about the story or like the reason behind a piece of art. So give it to them early. Like your introduction of yourself shouldn't take more than maybe 15, 20 seconds. You can come back to it in the end. And these questions don't need to be answered like in order necessarily. They just need to all be sort of answered at some point. But like, you do want to get to the story of the project early, because that's usually what people are going to be in it for. If you've hooked them with the cold open and they're like, all right, this seems like my jam, then you got to give them the like full description ahead of time. You also do need to understand the difference between a log line and a tagline. This is advice that possibly is just more broadly for a crowdfunding page, but I frequently see people who like describe their work in a log line as just like, he fought, she fought harder, and that's it. And it's like, that's a tagline for a movie poster, but that tells me nothing. Fought for what? Who is he? Who is she? So like, make sure that you do have some kind of like succinct 1 to 2 sentence description of your project that you can expand on, but that gives us sort of the main information. There's a lot of logline resources on the internet that you can search, like literally just search how to write a logline. And there are about 15,000 articles that you can read to help yourself with that. But like, you should have that, and it should be descriptive. Like, sometimes I think people get weird about like giving away too much. Like, they don't want to spoil things. They don't want to like give away the whole like fun of it, but you need to give us something so that we understand like why we're watching. You know, you don't need to solve the whole mystery for us, but you need to lay out the clues.
That's right.
And of course, remember your audience. Why will they get excited? This is something that we talk about in our crowdfunding workshop a lot, but the way that you pitch the project might depend a little bit on who you think your primary audience is. And so the way that you describe your project might not be like the whole picture, but it might be like the most enticing part of the picture, depending on like the sort of points of interest that you think your audience will be coming through with this. And I know Christina has a lot of thoughts on like how to describe a project in such a way that it appeals specifically to an audience. Oh no, did you lose me?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just me, but
I just heard absolute nothing, so it might have been me. COVID internet. I was just saying, Christina, in several of these Lunch and Learns, you've talked before about just succinctly describing your project for specific audiences, and understanding that like the way you describe your project to pitch might not necessarily be the way that like you would describe it to get to it holistically. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Also, I think that your pitch changes a little bit when you're talking to kind of all of your audiences. Like, your pitch video is meant to operate where you're giving a little bit of all the aspects. And then the pitch that you have for specific audiences maybe will delve into one aspect that is a selling point to them. Yeah, I'm sorry, my cat is just meowing. I don't know if you hear her. She's really
I do. Is she in the room?
No, she's locked out and she's upset about it.
Let her live. So yeah, so remember your audience. So hopefully by the time you make a pitch video, you will kind of know who you're speaking to, or at least like the largest group that you will be speaking to. So remind yourself, like, what are they most interested in? What about this project really, sparks their joy? Is it the style or format of the piece? Like, are they really interested in experimental theater, or are they really into cinema verite? I'm just saying words with lots of syllables that I don't know the meaning of, but I'm sure there's a fan base for. Is it the characters? Perhaps the representation of the characters? Like, do you think your audience is most interested in like the representational aspects of who's being put on screen and who's in charge behind the scenes? Is it the politics or like the mission of the piece? Like, we're going to use this to get climate change legislation through Congress. Like, whatever it is that you think is going to excite your audience the most about your story, lead with that and lean into that. You have a lot of other space throughout the campaign. You have 30 days or more to lay out all of the specific details, but you don't need to put everything in your pitch video. Remember, you only have 90 to 120 seconds. Just give us the highlights. Just give us the priorities and let us fill in the blanks as we continue to go down the rabbit hole of your campaign page.
I think also when it comes to, just to talk about this a little bit, it's okay to lean in more to the why, like why it matters, than maybe you would if you were just cutting a trailer for your movie or you're just trying to get people to watch it, because these are the people that are going to pay for it. And you're trying to reach the people that are most passionately going to care about why this project is going to make a difference or is going to touch people or whatever it is. And so an example for myself, my second feature about a donkey, in our crowdfunding campaign, we really talked heavily about representation and how we were trying to very specifically get more conservative leaning people to watch inclusive content by making a film that on the surface and in like initial appearances feels pretty heteronormative and doesn't feel like it's going to be all that inclusive. So that was a big part of our crowdfunding. But then when we cut a trailer for the movie, we weren't saying any of that because the whole point was that we were trying to get those people to watch this movie. So we weren't talking about how we were, trying to increase representation in our trailer. So I think that is something you can really think about too, is like, you don't even have to give away so much of the story. You definitely want to give a log line, but you don't have to tell the plot, but you should definitely tell the mission, the why.
Totally. Remember, why this? Why this story? Why now? The times. Why are you crowdfunding right now? Not 6 months ago, not 5 years from now. You don't need to answer this question directly. You don't need to say, why are we crowdfunding right now? But like this should come through. If somebody walks away from your pitch video, if you screen it for a friend and ask, all right, so why do you think I'm crowdfunding right now? And they don't have a good answer, then you haven't done a good job. Think about like being able to communicate what will having this money right now do to bring this project to life. This is essentially the promise you're making. I say this sometimes in crowdfunding workshops where crowdfunding is just a promise you're making to your audience. So at some point you need to make concrete what that promise is, especially if you are planning on crowdfunding in stages. So you're not freezing your whole budget all at once. Or if there are, elements outside of your control that will impact what you're able to do with the money. So like make very clear what this campaign will pay for, where the money is going, and what your plan is, because people want to know like you have a plan. They want to know that you have a plan. Channel Elizabeth Warren and have a plan for that. People need to be confident in your ability to follow through. And some of that is just literally saying, this is how I will follow through. This is what we're going to do with this after the fact. This is where we're going to go. This is exactly what this money is going to pay for, so that we can bring you all this cool stuff that we've been talking about throughout the rest of the video. Obligatory COVID-19 mention. So this is the point in time where we acknowledge that whenever you may be watching this video, currently we are filming this video amidst a global pandemic. Hopefully someday in the future, you will be watching this video and say, what? who's that? But right now, we do need to make reference to the fact that there's a pandemic. There's also global unrest about police brutality. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And people don't have as much time, attention, or money as they might have prior to it. So acknowledging that in your video, in your story section is going to go a long way, because you don't, the thing you don't want to come across as is callous. Like, I know important stuff happening right now, but right now it's my time, because that could be more of a disservice to your project than simply like recognizing, hey, we get that this is not a great time for everyone. And so understanding how you're going to like navigate a global pandemic and global unrest over police brutality and systems of racial oppression is important. Maybe you don't mention it in the video, although we are making it a requirement that you have to mention it somewhere on your page in a satisfactory manner, but like definitely know what you're going to say. If someone's like, why are you crowdfunding right now? There's a pandemic, bro. So know what the answer to that is.
Yeah. And I don't think, it's important to, even if there isn't a pandemic happening, I think it's always important to think about where your project fits in the world and right now, and why it matters, because there are so many stories that need to be told, and there are so many creators that have stories that they want to tell. And if you're like self-funding it, if you're getting investors and there's a business plan and all of that involved, then great. Like you can just tell the story you want to tell. But if you're asking other people to join you in making it, there should be a bigger why. And it doesn't have to be, a social justice driven why. It could be like, I really want to make people laugh right now because people need to laugh. Like laughter gives energy for what is a fight ahead. Like there's a way to frame that. But it's about acknowledging your place within a much larger context.
Totally. I already mentioned this, but what's the plan after the campaign closes? Like, are you going to film the movie and then that's it? No one will ever see it, but we made it. We sure did. Know what the plan is and be able to communicate to that. It might just be as simple as like, we're looking towards a festival run and we'll release it in spring 2021, or like these pictures will be available on my website exclusively for supporters at first and then for free, or this is going on a paywall. Like whatever the plan is or what your plans for the plan is, let us know. We want to know what's happening. Cool. Why you? Final question. Why the audience? So hopefully the audience will know why me, the audience, by the end of the pitch video. But in case you want to make it a little bit more concrete for people, remember that pitch videos should be just as much about who you're pitching to as they are about what you're pitching. The biggest mistake people make is forgetting that being able to describe what a great idea you have is equally as important as being able to describe why someone should give you money to make that thing, because everyone has a great idea. I'm sorry to say, even the dumbest person that you've ever met has a great idea. So why is your great idea the thing that people should not only acknowledge as a great idea, but give you money to see realized? What is it about this project, about this time, about you, the storytellers, that requires people to get involved, and why should they want to? Not just because it's a good idea, but because it helps them in some way. What does your audience get out of this project and this campaign?
Yeah, it offers them something that they're not getting elsewhere.
Totally. Like one way to do this, a really concrete way, is just like literally to highlight the incentives. Like, why should you get involved? Well, for $25, we will Photoshop you into an anti-capitalist propaganda poster because screw capitalism, but also give us money. You can highlight the campaign plans. So maybe like you've created some kind of innovative campaign strategy that if they get on board early, they'll get to be involved in stuff as things unfold. Perhaps this project will fulfill their needs in some way because you're giving them representation that they hadn't seen before. You're giving them access to information or stories. You're offering to help with political change that they are particularly enticed by and equally invested in. So like there are a lot of ways that you can fulfill the needs of your audience. You just gotta like think to yourself, what is going to be most appealing? It might just be, we have really cool incentives, but it also might be this work of art will solve a problem that they are having.
Also, don't underestimate the value of making people feel part of making a movie. People who don't make movies or don't make music or don't make, whatever podcast, whatever medium you're working in, they probably, if they love those things, they want to know what goes into it. They want to feel like they're part of it, but they don't maybe want to actually do the work. And that is an incentive. It's like, you're part of our team and we're going to share exclusive access in different ways, behind the scenes footage or visits or just getting to kind of chat privately with the cast or whatever it is. People may be contributing for that reason because they want to feel like they're part of making this thing.
Yeah. And as always, remember that the best way to know what your audience wants is to literally ask them. Mm-hmm. So as you're building your audience outside of running a crowdfunding campaign, be asking people questions. As you see people in your circles, like contributing to other campaigns or purchasing new music or whatever, ask people questions like, hey, what made you buy that? And why did you buy it today? Like, just be informed and listen and pay attention to what is enticing people and use that information to, make your job less frustrating when it comes to this. And also obligatory mention to remember to use inclusive language like join, pledge, and contribute, not donate, because people are not donating to your crowdfunding campaign because you are not a charity. Even if you're partnering with a 501c3 nonprofit, you yourself and your project is not a charity. You are a creative work that is going to go on to do a lot of other things. Plus, donate implies a transactional relationship where, like, I give you $5, you give me a tax write-off for that $5, and that's not very exciting, and I don't really feel like part of something, so why would I ever read any of your update emails? But if you ask me to join you, if you ask me to pledge, to contribute, to be a member of your team, that makes me have a more personal investment in the success of the project. I'm more likely to share a project that I didn't just donate to feel good for 10 seconds and then at tax time. Speaking of, I think today is tax day, isn't it? Or was that yesterday?
It is.
No, today is tax day. Yeah. Hey, everyone, remember, today is tax day.
I'd also like to add that I think it also sets a tone for yourself, because as I know a hang up people have about crowdfunding or just in general asking for financial support for a project, it can feel like you're asking for a handout. And when you frame it for other people that you actually are offering them something, you will believe it because you are, right? You're offering them an end product that they're going to get to enjoy, hopefully, maybe get to have a copy of, get to consume in some way, and also a very unique experience that is specific to you and your project. You're going to make them feel included. And so that is the offer. And when you say donate, you're kind of shortchanging yourself. You're implying that you are asking for a handout when you're totally not. You are really offering something to people. And that, I think, can be a mental block for creators that makes it hard. And again, the language you use not only works on other people psychologically, it also works on yourself.
Totally. And if you find yourself wondering, like, well, am I really offering something to people? You need to know the answer to that is yes. Otherwise, maybe you need a little bit more time. Because, like, if you genuinely at the end of the day think no one will watch this, not because like it's not good or like because you think it might not be good, like then you're probably not at the stage where you should be pitching something to other people. Like, if you do not have the confidence in yourself to say this project is going to be awesome, even if only I like it, then it's going to be really hard to get other people on board. So like there is a level to which, you need to genuinely believe in the thing that you're creating and in the potential of this story. If you don't believe in it, then why are you making it? What is the point of this whole exercise if you think it's going to be bad? So don't think like that. Remind yourself you're doing this because you can't get the story out of your head. You can't get these images out of your brain. You want other people to see them. Remember that.
Addie endorses that message.
Oh,
She's
yay,
making
Kitty.
a cameo because she wouldn't stop scratching at the door. So there's a third co-host.
Hashtag free Abby. Let her on the video. Hashtag let Abby be a YouTube influencer. So to round this presentation out, you want to make sure that the conclusion of your pitch video is a clear call to action. So you've hopefully convinced us at this point. So what do you want us to do about it? Pledge is probably the first call to action, like, hey, give us your money. Follow follow our campaign. We can unlock a number of awesome creator rewards as a result of following, and following is totally free. So if you're not in a position right now to give money or haven't been fully convinced yet, start out by just following and we'll get you eventually. Share. Obviously, you want to make sure that one of your calls to action is, hey, once you've been convinced, help us convince others. This is going to be really cool. And the more of us that are in this, the better it's going to be for all of us. Also, it might just be useful to add a simple end card with social media usernames. That does go a long way, just so you like have it up there and they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go follow them on Instagram or whatever. Make it as easy and straightforward as possible for people to get involved. There should never be, don't overwhelm them. Keep everything really concentrated around like supporting this crowdfunding campaign. But yeah, make it very clear like what the priority is, give us money, and then what else they can do if they want to, you know, provide more support. So these are technical tips because I know not everyone here is necessarily as technically savvy as the others, and some of you might not even be filmmakers. So for sound, the biggest technical tip I can give you is to record sound separately. So that can mean a lot of things. First, you can easily match the sound clip and the camera clip with a clap. So that's what this GIF is. This is me in one of my web series clapping to sync the sound, because what that does is create a spike. So the camera audio, which will eventually drop out, and the audio have like a simultaneous, very large thing that you can line up in whatever editing software you have. I promise sound syncing is very easy. It's annoying, but it's actually pretty easy if you have like a clear thing to edit to. And that goes a long way. A phone placed nearby or just out of frame or even upside down in a shirt pocket with like the microphone up works great if you don't have a microphone. So you might have a microphone if you're a podcaster, musician, sometimes filmmakers, or you might not, but phone audio is actually really good. And the point of the sound quality is not necessarily like how good your recording mechanism is, but literally how close it is to you. Like all of an iPhone records incredible sound. So just like put it near you, put it, you know, just below camera, just off camera here, whatever. I have seen people literally put it in a shirt pocket like that. I don't know how much of me you can see, but shirt pocket, if I was wearing a shirt with pockets. That's a great way of doing it. Alternatively, wear headphones and film from your phone with the headphones connected so that the audio it picks up is sourced from right next to your mouth. So I have definitely recorded pitch videos where I connect my headphones. I have Bluetooth ones, but I also have regular ones to my phone, and I will record from my phone from wherever. My phone could be super far away from me, but because the audio source that it's picking up is right next to my head, the audio quality will be good. The thing about like nice cameras and regular video cameras is that they're not built to be audio recorders. And usually they're placed far enough away from you that even if the audio quality could be good to make a nice frame, there's just too much space. And so you're getting a lot of echo and grain and it's hard to hear you. So that's why we recommend recording sound separately or recording it from a source that's near you, like with headphones.
That's right. Also, just to let everyone know, we should have said this at the beginning, we will have time for questions in just about a minute. We have some requests in the comments.
Yes, we will answer questions. We only have like 2 or 3 more slides. I just wanted to make sure that we had some technical expertise, especially for our new non-filmmaker friends. So technical tips for a pretty picture. Important to know, lighting is way more important than having an expensive camera. So when we say your pitch video needs to look good, that doesn't mean you need to rent out like a red camera, you know, or like a 4K camera. Nobody cares about that. And they're probably going to watch this on their computer or phone anyways. So having 4K resolution is useless. The thing that makes a piece of footage look good is the lighting. It's really not the camera at this level. So make sure your lighting is good. That means positioning yourself in front of a window so the light from the window is shining on your face, or surround yourself with lamps and other light sources. Make sure that lights that aren't diffused, like have something in between them, aren't pointed directly at your subject, because you don't want glare and you don't want it to be too harsh. So that means like covering it with like a sheer scarf, perhaps, or just like pointing it at a wall nearby. Also, making your picture prettier. Add depth, texture, and color to the frame to kind of vary things up. So instead of being flat against a white wall, maybe come off the wall for a little bit, have a shelving unit behind you, maybe a selection of masks that you use because you're a responsible citizen in the world of COVID-19. And also color, give us a sense of like the palettes you're playing with. Christina mentioned that the lighting that they used in their pitch video for About a Donkey matched the lighting and coloring of the eventual film. So play with that. Production design should not be an afterthought. Shout out once again to Shay, our technical director, who is a production designer and is incredible at it. And also, obligatory mention of the rule of thirds. You can find articles that lay this out, but like rule of thirds does a lot to make a frame look nice. And it's very, very easy. Literally, you just pick a quadrant and stick to it. And there are more rules to that, but you can Google an article.
Yes, the eyes above the third line, the top line. What I was just going to say is that if you have more advanced lighting skills, I really recommend matching the tone of your film or project's lighting, because that will go a long way. Like if you are making a horror film, if you have really high key, like daylight, well lit footage that's like you being really friendly and asking people to join you, may not be as effective as if you tried to be a little spooky in your lighting, like, so you can still have good lighting, still be well lit, but create tone if you can. And so that's for the
thing where you put like literally put like a flashlight under you, like you're telling a scary story. That's really fun. That's a visual cue, and it also continues to set the tone.
That was a great little ad lib.
Let yourself be creative. This is fun. I know we're like asking for money and everyone's really weird about that, but if you do it in a fun way, you feel less weird, they feel less weird, and they'll probably give you more money. I'm just saying. Final thoughts. We've said this before, but people do assume that the quality of a pitch video, and again, that doesn't mean like the literal cinematic quality, but just like the quality of it as a finished piece will reflect the quality of the finished work. So if you have a bad pitch video, people will assume your film's probably not going to be very good. This goes double for filmmakers, but all artists be aware, this is your first impression. This is just a general reminder about crowdfunding, is that it's done best when it's audience building first, fundraising second. The video should appeal to your audience, the people who want to consume your art for its own sake, not your friends and family. Your friends and family will give you money regardless of what your page looks like. So the page should be focused on the audience, not on people who already know about you. And the video should be able to stand alone. It should be its own piece of completed work so that it can be shared independently from the campaign page as well as a part of the whole. Any other final thoughts before we get into questions?
Just that I think you can lean into things that maybe feel like barriers, because especially in this world where we're all at home, so we're all working at home and we don't maybe have like a nice studio to go shoot in, and we can't really go out, thinking about how certain things that feel like disadvantages can be advantages. And so, for instance, the way that I have both of my cats now in my office roaming around meowing, and if I were making a pitch video, I would just bring them on screen and make that on brand. Like my production company is called Congested Cat, so that works. And in fact, my About a Donkey pitch video has a cat walking around in the background because it was my mom's living room, so that there was a cat there. And even we didn't talk about Emily Best, her Fuck Yes pitch video, but we did show it on that slide. And I'm pretty sure that she was at one point breastfeeding in it, because she was literally breastfeeding at that point in her life with her first baby. And I love that, because it's just sort of owning who she is even more. And the fact that her pitch video and making projects are happening around also being a parent. And so that's just something I would like to leave you with. She was like, that's a way you can show who you are without having to say so much too.
Totally. Show, don't tell.
Great.
So now it's officially time for questions. So if you have specific email questions, you can email crowdfunding@seedandspark.com. But I'm also just going to go ahead and close out of the presentation. And now it's just us again, just friends here.
We had an earlier question. I'm going to bring it up. So how does one crediting work? when using representational footage off the internet. Do you want to answer this one, Bri?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, definitely, if you can, check in with the people whose work you're using, especially if it's more like independent artists. We generally recommend trying not to use like footage that you don't own, just because like there are copyright issues. And even if you're within fair use to use like a clip, the internet is not very nuanced about fair use, and litigating fair use can take a while, even if you're in the right. So in general, we recommend staying away from it as much as possible without like explicit permission from whose content you're using. And that's why we recommend things like past work, maybe past work from your collaborators. Like all of those sizzle that you make at the beginning doesn't have to be your work specifically. Like grab stuff from your cinematographer, whatever. And stock footage, which is you're allowed to use because it is stock footage. But when you are crediting people, usually just like having a lower third of like, footage courtesy of, and then like the copyright holder. So whether that's the production company or the particular person that you're grabbing it from, whatever. And best practices further is linking to the original works in like the video description or in your story section, things like that. Like, you want to really make sure that like if people want to find this work, they can. But don't usually. But like no.
But like stock footage, I feel like is your friend here as much as possible. And if you said you're making an issue-based film, so if you can find news footage, that is free use, that I think would be in your best interest, because unless it's one of your collaborators, it is such a gray area to use footage, even if you credit them and even if you sort of have like verbal approval.
Totally. Any other questions?
I just want to say that it's a different situation if you are like privately just trying to use footage to set a tone, like if it's a tone reel and you're doing that just to like get collaborators on board and you're very clear, like this is not my footage, but it's to give you a sense, because that's pretty common, like mood boards using similar films, that's fine. The gray areas that you're asking for money using footage that you don't have the rights to, that's why it's a problem. Just want to make that clear.
Good call. Yes, that's a good clarification. I just want to give a shout out really quickly to Herman Wang of the Spell Tutor and Illuminagents web series for giving great sound advice in the comment section. So thank you, Herman. As always, you're the best. Herman has taught me everything I know about color correcting, because previously I knew nothing, but he's also very good at what he does. It looks like we have the next question is from Katie Harbin. Mm-hmm. Can you speak more to how pitch videos can build your audience? Christina, you want to take it first?
Yes. So we kind of talked about this, right? But whatever your pitch video is pitching should reflect the end product in some way. And so I always default to genre because I make genre work. I bounce between horror and comedy. But I know that my first pitch video got shared a lot on horror movie websites and blogs because it opened with what seemed like a trailer for a horror film. And so that in and of itself, making sure that you're setting the tone of the end product, can really help you go a long way. I'm so sorry, my cat is being so annoying. You continue, Bri.
Yeah, I was just going to say, remember one of the final thoughts that we shared, which was that your pitch video should stand alone. So if you are a filmmaker or an artist or whatever, this pitch video should be able to live on outside of your project. So while it should obviously be explicitly saying like, hey, give us money to our Seed&Spark campaign, like it's sort of the arc of the pitch video should be like finished, it should be something that people want to watch. So like, if you can make it just a fun video to engage with, like I have rewatched my like buy-in pitch video many times because I find it very funny. And perhaps that's not shared by everyone, but like it should be something that you want to rewatch. It shouldn't just be like a mechanical thing that you put up and then forget about, after the 30 days are up. So like put thought in it, put heart into it. People respond to that. People see that you care and were creative about a thing that you've made. Like how insert thing here can build your audience is be thoughtful about it. Make it as creative and as fun to engage with as the eventual finished product that you're hoping to fund. So, you know, that applies to pitch videos, incentives, story section, everything. Let crowdfunding be a creative exercise, and everyone will benefit from that, yourself included.
Also, just to add another example, I had a total stranger give quite a bit of money to one of my films, because one of my campaigns, because we showed not just past work, but a ton of reviews that we had gotten for our web series along with the footage that we were showing throughout our pitch video. And he loved the reviews and like the little snippets that he was seeing. So he went and watched my whole web series because of my pitch video for my new project, and then decided to give money because he was now a fan of me and my work, essentially. And like, that is a very unique situation. I don't know how often that happens. I can't say for myself how often that's happened, but I know that that was one specific moment where pretty much a quarter of my budget, my crowdfunding budget, came from this one person, because I structured the pitch video as a way to show you who I am as an artist as well, so that you can take an interest in my previous work. And I made it very clear how you can link to and find all of that stuff that I was referencing in the video.
Totally.
Any recommended stock footage sites to use? So we have a partnership with Shutterstock. They sponsor our creative sustainability sessions that we do on Fridays. You should check them out. I believe we have a discount offer from them if you use our platform. So that's something that, if you haven't RSVP for the Eventbrite for our Friday event with Mark Duplass, which we're going to plug at the end of this, and you will get a cool thing from them if you RSVP. So yeah, but there are others. I don't want it to just be like we're shouting out our sponsor. There are totally others, but that's one where there's a benefit because of our partnership.
Yeah, but you can also just Google. I know I keep saying like, just Google it, but like, honestly, sometimes people come to us and I'm like, I can answer this question, but also you could have gotten a much faster answer if you just Googled it.
That's right.
I'm happy to give you guys a place to start, but in a lot of cases. Hey.
I don't know if we have any other, did I miss any questions?
We have a question from Daniel who asks how to determine how much to ask for. So this is obviously broader than a pitch video, but the answer to your question is going to be very personal, which is, what is your budget? How much money do you need to make this thing? If you don't know how much money it will take to accomplish the thing that you want to accomplish, then you're not ready to crowdfund. You need to know how much money you're asking for and why you are asking for that much money. So it's a mistake that lots of people make. I made many times, to just like arbitrarily put a number up because you're like, it'd be nice to have $3,000, have a couple thousand smackers in the bank. But it's like, yeah, it'd be nice, but like, what am I using that money for? And more often than not, the money that you're like, yeah, that would be nice, you either won't raise because you clearly weren't putting enough thought into your production to understand like the power of money and fundraising, but also you'll generally spend more than that because you weren't thoughtful about like exactly what that money was going for. And you're like, oh, wow, things are more expensive than I realized when I didn't pay any attention to it. So put a budget together. There are a lot of resources available on putting a budget together. I've written many at Sparable. So if you search how to make a budget Sparable, you'll find an article by moi. So there's easier Google term for you, friends. And really like think about like, how much money is this going to cost? And that's how much you should ask for.
That's right. And we are going to be doing more lessons on some of these other categories of crowdfunding, like budgeting and incentives. I think we're definitely going to do that because I feel like there's desire to talk about ideas for incentives. We're scheduling them. So if you have any desire to request a lesson from us, please in the comments, like, let us know what you want to learn about so we can schedule.
And then
them.
I will do the Googling for you. We have one more question from Danny Craig. Danny asks, would you recommend crowdfunding for the script writing stage, or should you wait until you've started pre-production or production? So that's another really personal question. When do you need the money? And when are you able to start your long-term marketing plan for this project? Like, don't do a campaign, go dark for like a period of time and then emerge again when you're ready for the next stage. Like, because crowdfunding is a part of a longer term marketing strategy for you and really part of a long-term career strategy for yourself, don't crowdfund for a project until you're ready to start talking about it and making moves towards it. So that could be screenwriting stage, that could be production, that could be post-production.
Also, no, it's harder to get collaborators for crowdfunding when it's just for the script writing stage. If you don't have a producer attached yet, or, you know, it's just hard when you don't have a team, because crowdfunding is collaborative in the way that most art forms are making them. And yeah, it's going to be harder for you. So it's going to take more time out of what maybe could be going towards just, you know, outlining and writing of the script.
We have a suggestion for an upcoming session, so we'll do that.
We will look at those and put together a schedule.
And we don't have a budgeting video already up online, but that is an upcoming topic soon.
Yeah, we do have our crowdfunding workshop that you can take. We offer it pretty much every week. There's an option. I think the next one is tomorrow. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing one with Chicago Film Office tomorrow. We're also doing one on Monday. So definitely check out seedandspark.com/events for all of our upcoming cool stuff. So
in that, we do elaborate a bit on budgeting and how to figure out setting your goal. Yeah. But I think that's it. We are already 5 minutes over. So thank you so much for tuning in. Coming up, like I said, we have our next creative sustainability session on Friday at 1 p.m. PT. That is creative writing in quarantine with Mark Duplass. You should totally tune in. And like I said, if you RSVP on the Eventbrite, you get some cool stuff from the sponsors of that specific session. Our next Lunch and Learn is next Wednesday. It'll be all about audience building. So we will talk more in depth about some of the stuff that we touched on today in terms of how to find your audience, how to engage them, how to keep them on board and turn them into amplifiers. And also, if this lesson was helpful to you, we do have a pay what you can option. There's a link in the comments and it'll be in the video description. If you don't have the money to pay anything, please don't feel pressure to contribute. This is totally free. We are committed to making all of our education 100% free to everyone who needs it. However, it is hard to sustain this without sponsors. So if you do have the ability to give, we would really appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll see you again on Friday and then Wednesday, and maybe in one of our workshops. We have a whole bunch of stuff on Eventbrite. Look at all those options.
Yeah, Eventbrite and seedandspark.com/events. So yeah, looks like all the links have been variously posted in the comments. And if you follow me or Christina on Twitter, you will, or Seed&Spark, you will get all of this information and more. So thanks so much for being here. And you will get this deck if you signed up with your email. And if you didn't, you can throw it in the comments and we will get it to you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.